Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah. Throughout my life I've struggled with a lot of health problems and I sort of wanted to sit down and just talk through them with you and try and create more of an understanding about the issues that I've been facing. Okay, so we need to rewind right back to when I was 12 years old. I was diagnosed with scoliosis. If you're not aware about what scoliosis is, it's basically where your spine abnormally curves and grows out of alignment. My great aunt had scoliosis, so my mum had been looking out for it for quite a while and seeing if I would develop it because it was a genetic condition that can be passed down. At 12, I was taken to a physio and they were like, yeah, you've got scoliosis, it's a tiny curvature though, we'll just do some pain management with you and massage and different exercises and things that you can do to manage it by yourself. I was in a lot of pain. I couldn't work out why. I didn't know what scoliosis meant. I was too young. I didn't look into it. I didn't know how to. I just knew that I would get really bad migraines sometimes and I would also get really bad back pain. As the time went on, I think a year later to 2 years later, I started to get into so much pain and my migraines were so bad that I had to stay home from school quite a few times. I was so embarrassed by my condition. I mean, it is a condition, but I was just embarrassed that I had something wrong with me. And I didn't really tell anybody that I had scoliosis and why I was not coming to school and different things. I was very humiliated and I didn't want people to know. When I just turned 14, my parents decided to take quite a bit more action as x-rays had started coming through that my curvature was getting worse and worse. So we needed to look into a brace. We went with Scoliosis, which is a bracing system that is a soft brace and can pull you to where you need to be aligned to make your spine stay in that position. It's a very different, very new idea to do with bracing and not many people or specialists really agreed with it. But we went with it because I didn't want people to know that I had to wear a brace and I wanted to be able to continue dancing, as dancing was my passion at the time and I really wanted to continue doing it. I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with this brace. I think I'd hit probably 30-degree angles. So you have the top of your spine called the thoracic spine that had gone to 30 degrees and like an S shape, so it had gone 30 degrees on the top, 30 degrees on the bottom. Scoliosis. Okay, I don't ever want to put down businesses because I know that people work really hard to establish what they believe will be the right thing for certain conditions and things, especially in scoliosis. Scoliosis is a very hard thing to manage and it's also incurable. So people are trying to find different ways of handling scoliosis and different bracing methods. The standard method of bracing that completely constricts your movement and keeps you in that position, and you continue to have that molded to your body as you grow. But I went with the soft brace. In my experience, my personal experience, I know there's quite a high success rate with Scoliosis, so I'm not saying that this won't work for everybody, but for me personally, it didn't work, or I didn't feel like it was worth it. It was incredibly uncomfortable. It completely molded my body with the straps and I felt trapped and squished all day. I felt completely overheated all day as well, especially during the summer. It was very uncomfortable to sleep in, to do anything in. I felt like my body looked ridiculous because it was all in angles to do with the bracing. I hated how it looked. I hated how my body looked and felt. And I mean, I think all bracing is uncomfortable, but this especially was very uncomfortable and also quite humiliating. The guy that did it for us, the bracing, he was on the mainland, so we had to travel to the mainland every 4 months. He would readjust it and change it to where the spine was curving and what needed to be done. He was doing all this technical stuff. It was so embarrassing. As a 14-year-old, I didn't actually have my period yet. I got my period in November, so I think I got the brace in June. And once you get your period, it's 2 years from your period that you can have the brace off. So we were waiting for my period to come. The doctors were asking me, have you got it yet? You need to call us when you get it. And it was so embarrassing because I'd never had it before. I didn't know you know, I didn't want to share it with all these random people and these men, and I got it. And so then it was 2 years from when I was 14 and a half, I think. So I had the brace for 2 years basically. And it was just really embarrassing because I had to see this man throughout puberty basically, and with my body changing, my hips growing, my boobs changing. I was a stick and I grew little boobs and a little butt, and he had to change the brace to fit around those things. So my body was always on display, always being touched, examined, and I hated it. I still don't like going to doctors or specialists because of that experience. I just didn't like it and felt very exposed and vulnerable during that time, through those 2 years. Looking at positives during this time, I got to go on quite a few trips because 3 times a year I'd have to go to the mainland, so it's either Sydney or Melbourne, and I would go up and either see Lauren, my bestie in the whole world, or my auntie Mel or someone during those trips. So that was a bit of fun, and on one of the trips my nan and granddad actually took me to see Taylor Swift. So, you know, that was a bit of a perk. There were nice things that came out of it, but yeah, it was quite a hard time to go through, and it was hard growing and changing as a girl into a woman and having a brace like that. I don't know whether it helped. I don't know whether it prolonged my back getting worse. I don't know whether it did, but I mean, I guess it prolonged the time that I had to have surgery. One thing during that time that I do want to mention is I wish that I had been really open and honest about what I was going through. I felt very alone and isolated and embarrassed by my condition. I didn't tell anybody. I think I told 4 friends and my family and then my nan and granddad, and that was it. I didn't tell anybody, and I was humiliated and embarrassed by my body, what it was doing to me. Scoliosis changes the way that your body sits, so my ribs stuck out, my spine you could see was a complete S shape. I didn't like the way that it looked, and I didn't like the way that I felt within my body, and I didn't want people judging me for it. So I just never told anyone, and if I could talk to anybody that has scoliosis and is feeling the same way that I did, tell people. Being honest and open about what you're going through allows people to come into your life and support you instead of not knowing and you feeling isolated. So if I could go back, I would have opened up a lot earlier. In early 2015, I went to see another specialist who said that the brace hadn't been working for me and that I was now diagnosed with progressive scoliosis, which means that my spine would have continued to curve throughout my entire life and I would have been very disabled. Since being out of the brace, I was in so much pain. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, hang on. It's just really hard to hear that because we've gone through this massive journey of this brace and feeling the emotions that I felt during that time, to then be told that it was worth nothing. We went to a hospital and I went into the room where the specialist was. He was a specialist in adolescent scoliosis. I was 16. And he asked if it was okay if there'd be 5 or 6 student doctors in the room. Not just being examined by one man, but watched by 6 others was numbing. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so embarrassed. Keep in mind, also had x-rays done the entire time that I knew I had scoliosis. So every time we'd see an x-ray, it'd be measured and we'd be told how far it was progressing, what was happening, whether it was getting better or not. And so it was obvious that it wasn't getting better. In that room with all of those people, this doctor told me that I had progressive scoliosis and it wouldn't get better and I would eventually be completely disabled if I didn't have spinal fusion surgery. Devastated that I'd gone through this entire journey to then end up at the worst case scenario. I then became obsessed with working out and building muscle weight. I've always been very skinny, as you can probably see, but especially during this time I was quite slim, so I put out all of my angst into working out. We went to Melbourne for the surgery. I want to do a separate video entirely about my experience with spinal fusion, and otherwise it will just be too long. But it was successful. I have a massive scar on my back, and it goes all the way down to the bottom of my back. After the surgery, it took a year to recover, 3 months pretty much in bed with physios and rehabilitation, and then I was able to get back into school. The reason that they did say that it was progressive scoliosis is because it was at 50 and 50, the two curvatures, and now it's at like completely straight and I think 20 degrees, which is incredible. I'm grateful we did it. I'm grateful I went through that. Even though it was the most painful and traumatic experience of my life, to now be here with a straight back, being able to model, not having that same pain that I had. Spinal fusion has definitely changed my life, and it's made me love my body. And although that was the toughest experience ever, how my body is now in comparison to back then, the change is incredible. I am now dealing with another issue with my back, and I'll also make another video about that. I don't really want to just bore you, but I did want to just talk about my scoliosis in this video. It has been a really long journey. It's been hard, it's been intimidating, it's been embarrassing, it's been overwhelming, it's been painful as heck. I've had to rely and depend on people like my parents and my family. I have seen what true faith is through this journey, and it's made me the person that I am today. I have actually written a blog post about my surgery and my scoliosis experience. I'll put them both down below so that you can read a little bit more in detail about them. I've actually come to a place of being grateful for this experience, because I would not be as strong and badass as I am now if I hadn't gone through that. I'm really glad that I've made this, and I hope that you've enjoyed watching and getting to know my health journey a little bit more. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.